Want to welcome everybody to the 6ility benefits of Acumatica's True Cloud presentation, put on by myself. Kevin ought to be a familiar voice to everybody in the call, and also Jessica Gadbois from Acumatica. Want to mention that this is being recorded, will be posted in whole or at least in part on the NexLAN website, in case anybody would like to refer back to parts of this at a later time. If you have questions along the way, over on the right of your screen, there's a little questions button there. Hit that, type in a question, and we'll do our best to get you a response right here in real time. But if not, we certainly have contact info and can follow up. And finally, lean back and enjoy lunch. Here's an overview of what we'll be hitting. We're going to talk first about the definition of cloud. A lot of people have heard about cloud. And what is cloud? And I'm using this term called true cloud. What is true cloud? We'll get that defined. We'll talk about how Acumatica's use of what we're calling true cloud provides benefits in the following areas here: mobility, functionality, reliability, flexibility, scalability, and affordability. And if you pay attention, I'm going to probably sneak in a couple more ilities along the way. So we'll spend 15-ish minutes going over that, and then we'll get to the good stuff. And that's Jessica's demonstration of Acumatica itself. I have contact info for both Jessica and I on the screen here, and that's repeated at the end as well. So, what is the cloud and what is true cloud? Well, the cloud has been around, everybody has a pretty good idea of it because, you can certainly think of the cloud as merely browsing the websites, okay? Because the cloud really is, data somewhere out there in space. And, browsing the web certainly fits that. We move to cloud computing as a term when we talk about putting your applications and or your data out yonder. So that's whenever we really talk about cloud computing. And one of the first applications that did that was online backup solutions. That was a really good choice. There would be a local program installed on your server. The backup would take place, go out somewhere on the cloud, which was a good idea because that way your data is off-site. If there's a fire, hurricane, etc., we've performed that critical backup function there. Another simple example is a lot of people will use cloud-hosted data like Dropbox and some of these other, document storage kind of places. And you're still, in those cases, you're still using an application locally at your desktop and opening those remote files. True cloud is when there's really no local program installed. If anybody's used anything like Google Docs, where you're in a browser and if you squint, it very much looks like Microsoft Word or Excel that you're in, but that application is really in the browser and it's in the out yonder. So when we're able to take the program and the data, move them both to the cloud, that is a true cloud application. Now, there are different ways to do, when we get to the details of implementing cloud. The public cloud is what I've been discussing so far, and that's where we have everything outside. When we get to private cloud, we do have instances where people will say, well, I really like this browser-based architecture, and we're going to get to some demonstrations of that and more discussion, but people will like the presentation, they'll like the functionality, but for whatever reason, they really don't want to have this out in the wild blue yonder. There may be security issues, there may be special data protection issues. They may be out in the middle of nowhere in West Texas and the internet runs over a 9600 baud modem. So there are instances where we can take and do a private cloud, and that's simply setting up a web server inside your own local area network, and that works great. The real reason we're getting to this discussion today and getting to where AccountMate or Acumatica comes alive is because the technology has really finally reached the point where we can do this with complex applications and integrations like accounting software. Accounting software is often what we call trailing edge technology. And in that case, you know, you're not seeing the latest, awesomest, coolest features in the accounting software up front. No, usually they're in some social media thing to give a lot of whiz bang. So the technology, as we'll demonstrate, is mature to the point now, and Acumatica took a forward-looking approach enough that it's now very mature, and we're able to take this architecture, push it out to you know, a core function like accounting. So when we get things moved out to the cloud, okay, one of the first big benefits we get is mobility. Originally, when people talked about, oh, I need to access my accounting software from somewhere outside my office, well, that meant a remote PC. Typically, you'd set up a VPN and you would use remote desktop. Okay, and that worked. Okay, you could then sit on your laptop at your kitchen table or home office and look like you're running the desktop application back at the office. But the world is truly mobile now and demands even more functionality than that. Okay, Acumatica brings anytime, anywhere access. Because it's browser-based, it'll operate on a PC, it'll operate on a tablet, it'll operate on a phone. It's browser-based, it's exactly the same code base and same functionality. Now, there is also iOS and Android native apps. Those allow you to use things, authentication that's built into your phones, face and fingerprint authentication. You can literally talk and use the dictation input of your phone. And some of the specific things people are using, this new level of mobility that now unchains you from the kitchen table or the home office. Having CRM integrated, getting updates on the fly and calendar management from your phone while you're, you know, standing in line at a grocery store or something. Expense reports, being able to fill out an expense report from your phone, take a picture of the receipt, submit it all online, it flies into the accounting system for approval, and you never touched it on a keyboard. Simple to do. We get a lot of people looking for truly mobile time reporting, okay? It's people on the go. It's manufacturing people on a line. It's salespeople out making customer contacts, delivery routes, etc. Sales orders. In the simplest examples, we used to talk about being able to enter sales orders from a conference or something, okay? But now it literally can be done where, you know, a phone works from anywhere. And so now it is truly mobile. I'll refer back to the delivery route kind of stuff, to the field service, where now we've got field service, we've got GPS tracking with it, signature captures, photos, everything. So mobility like you've never seen before. Here's the functionality. Once upon a time, browser-based applications didn't really have as rich of a user interface compared to desktop applications. Not only is that no longer true, but browsers now have functionality that legacy desktop applications can't touch. You know, when's the last time you did a drag and drop in your current accounting software? You know, well, gee, that's in Acumatica because that's part of the user interface in the browser suite. So Acumatica brings functionality-wise, of course, the classic accounting, brings in numerous built-in, not third-party integrated, but built-in functionality of phenomenal dashboards. Jessica will knock your socks off with some dashboards in a few minutes. But it has as native applications, customer relationship management, CRM, warehouse management systems, the WMS listed there, fixed assets, as functionality that is native, that is in the application, and has all the other benefits that we've seen here. Now, because of the new architecture of this, because it's not a legacy application, it's built for, and to get into the geek speak, the APIs that allow this to integrate and the extensibility to easily connect to things like e-commerce, EDI, sales tax, shipping logistics. And if you're looking at that list and saying, well, gee, the software I've got, we integrated those. Yeah, it's possible to do that in the legacy applications, but you have to get out hammers and tongs and you have to beat it, and it's hard, and it's time is money. And then because you're not using APIs, when it's time to upgrade, you get to redo much of that effort all over again. Going back to the functional API interfaces that Acumatica brings to the table, these, even when we're on the external applications like listed here, it becomes a lot more plug and play. And some of the ways that we are using that in Acumatica, we literally have Alexa and Siri natural language queries, where you can say, Alexa, what is my oldest outstanding sales order? And we can interface Alexa via these APIs, and Alexa will tell you back the answer to the question. Other functionality that is becoming very common today that Acumatica has integrated automatically into it, two-factor authentication. That's, where, hey, when you go to log in, it will text you 4 digits that now you have to enter those 4 digits. Okay, now it will let you log in. That's customizable. You can turn that off so that when your Acumatica installation recognizes that you're coming from your office building, okay, it's from the building, I don't need to go through the two-factor. Machine learning. I don't think we'll get a demonstration of that. Hopefully Jessica can go into more detailed just discussion, but it's looking at an image of an AP invoice, parsing it, and entering that AP invoice for you. Amazing. Benefit number 3 is reliability. Because the application is browser-based, there's no client install. Everybody on this phone call is used to, hey, we have to, run this client install before it will work. Oh, and now there's a problem, okay? And us geeks call that DLL hell, when the pieces of one program overwrite pieces of another program. We see this on a regular basis with the Crystal Reports reporting engine that we currently use in our AccountMate installations. Acumatica is a lot more reliable because the processing is a lot more server-based than legacy client-server applications. So client-server was a good idea, was a great idea in the 90s, and it offloaded a lot of the main processing power back to the server. Well, a true cloud implementation is even more offloaded back to the server. This makes it a lot less susceptible to network irregularities. If you've ever had a problem in your current accounting system and you email us nice corn-fed Midwestern boys and say, hey, this is happening, what's going on? We're always asking about replicating it. We're always thinking in the back of our head, is it data? Is it program? Could it be the network? It's a lot less susceptible to network irregularities in this type of architecture. I'll talk a bit about reliability, business continuity, disaster preparedness. The default public cloud option, the majority of Acumatica clients are using Amazon Web Services. The standard service agreement with Amazon Web Services is 99.99% uptime. We call that 4 nines. That is, they guarantee a maximum of 4.5 minutes downtime per month. Very few mid-tier clients have an IT department and have the infrastructure that can match that kind of reliability. And it's hard, okay? And if 4.5 minutes a month sounds crazy, Amazon has an option to do 5 nines. You're now down less than 30 seconds per month. Now that costs a little bit more, but how are they able to get such incredible, uptime on this stuff? They're doing virtualization, they're doing hardware redundancy that, is flat out complicated and expensive to do. But they're able to do it because they're on such a massive scale. And along with that, we get this geographic resiliency so that, if a storm hits or there's a fire, you're able to just transfer the data. Okay, flexibility. This is the number one thing we do here at NexLAN, is we take systems and we make them fit you. That's why we get out of bed here in the morning. With a greater level of built-in functionality, with greater interoperability and extensibility. I'm just killing it on the illities here, aren't I? With it makes interfacing the application so much simpler and easier and quicker. And now we get to your favorite part, less expensive and easier to roll forward. Now, many cloud applications, the Achilles heel of many of them is that they cannot be customized to specific users. With Acumatica, you are your own installation. Your company is your installation. If you want things in that done your way, sir, yes, sir, ma'am, yes, ma'am, we can do it. You're in a unique operating environment. So if you start looking out at cloud applications, and the reason you're probably on AccountMate right now is because of, you need your functionality. Many of them cannot support that. Acumatica's approach with unique operating environments means that we can. Talk about scalability. Being able to make the system larger or smaller as necessary. And specifically for clients that are seasonal. If you're in the snow shovel business, you're doing great, you're going great guns in October, November, getting ready for the big season. But about April, everybody takes the month off. So if you're at all seasonal, your in-house systems, when you're hosted internally, they have to be built for maximum demand, or just, they have to be able to handle the workload when the workload is there. And then it's underutilized in the off seasons. So, you've spent money that you don't have to. With Acumatica, we can dial up and dial down hardware resources and, add processing power, add memory, add hard drive, whatever fits for you. We'll get in a minute. Well, the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about user pricing as well and how that is affected by scalability. With multiple locations, it is identical operation at all locations. When we're taking legacy accounting software, we set it up at one central location and it works pretty good from there, okay? Oh, and now we have this other office and we need to connect them in. And we go back to the mobile solutions that we do with legacy applications. We have VPNs and remote desktop. And then printing is really slow there, okay? We don't see that. It's identical at all locations. So we don't have printer lag at remote offices. We can also add locations, remote locations, at no incremental cost. Finally, the last one in my ility list is affordability. Acumatica is not priced by user count. You can add users, add all the users. Hey, people need to see this stuff. Of course, there's great security in there for what they can see, what they can access. They may need particular dashboards, but not others. Put everybody in your system. No incremental cost. Add locations, add additional companies. You're all there. Acumatica is priced, I got an asterisk down here under options, but Acumatica is typically priced for mid-tier companies based upon the modules and the functions that are used. If you need to add on fixed assets, yes, that is a standard, that is an Acumatica module, but yes, there is an incremental cost for something like that. But it's really priced based upon the modules and functions and on the hosting resources required to provide that responsiveness that we need. And we estimate that with a number of commercial transactions. Number of commercial transactions is most commonly how many customer invoices do you do in a month. That's usually the biggest number of transactions in a system. So with that, we're able to estimate what the resources are required to make a system run well for you. Because honestly, people logging in and just looking at data, that doesn't use much resources. That don't slow a system down. So we don't charge you for it. Now, we have a caveat there, and that is there is a small business edition. The small business edition can scale, and on that, it is lesser priced. There are some functions not available there. It's made for, the businesses just coming up out of QuickBooks and getting their feet into this area. And it does count users. We can easily do 5 to 10 concurrent users on that. When we move beyond that, volume of transactions will typically be up enough. So now for the good stuff. I'm going to alley-oop Jessica in.
Thank you, Kevin. If you could just make me the presenter so I can share my screen. I think just a right click on my name should do it.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Okay. All right, I found you.
Thank you very much.
I think I sent a, okay, how about now?
There we go. So I'm going to get my screen shared here. And just while I do that, I wanted to just thank everybody for joining the call today. My name is Jessica Gadbois. I am with Acumatica, and I am Acumatica's Director of Partner Enablement. So I think today's lunch session is a really good showing of the partnership here between Acumatica and NexLAN. Acumatica only goes to market through our partners. So it's very important to us from a partnership perspective to make sure that we are fully engaged and active with our partners as they're hosting sessions like this, and really just getting to know the different types of clients that might need our help in the future. So what I'm going to do is try to bring to life some of the points that Kevin brought up, the 6ilities that we saw as the theme today. We should be able to plug those into an Acumatica demo now and bring this to life. So Kevin, can you just confirm that you are seeing my screen?
Yep, looks great.
Awesome. Now I'm going to just really simply start my demo by logging in. I think that's important. You can see that I'm just using a Chrome browser today. I am in my home office and I'm based in Massachusetts. So that concept of access from anywhere, that concept of true cloud that Kevin spent quite a while really alluding to the value of that, has to do with reliability. Now, true cloud is going to give you that reliability by giving you that access from anywhere. Anywhere that you have access to the internet, which is what I'm mentioning with my Chrome browser from home today, but tablets and mobile devices. I'll make sure to show you an example of how we can access our accounting and ERP system from a cell phone or a any type of smartphone really, but a tablet as well. Access from anywhere, that's what true cloud means. We hear that buzzword all the time, cloud, 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 but just keep that in mind during today's presentation. Business continuity and reliability, ultimately we see cloud as the future of how to maintain that business continuity and reliability by giving you access anywhere you have access to the internet. Now, Kevin also mentioned these partnerships with Amazon and Microsoft as far as using their SaaS services to support our clients. We do have options if you are not looking to go to the cloud yet, or God forbid something happens in your organization, then we can also move you to another deployment method. So flexibility, reliability, hitting on all the ilities here. I think it's worth mentioning even a client that was, they were literally underwater during Hurricane Sandy up here in the Northeast, and their business kept running. And to us, those are the hero stories that make us proud. We love our customers. We share that with NexLAN, and that's why we have such a strong partnership. So my intro spiel is over, but it really has to do with access from anywhere, supporting a reliable, continued business. Now, moving right along, the functionality piece, or usability, if you would allow me to insert yet another ility here. Acumatica is probably the best known ERP system today when it comes to user friendliness or ease of use. So I'm going to talk about some of the functionality that makes us the top player in that functionality space. First of all, just note the user interface. I mean, Acumatica is just a website at the end of the day. So I just have to use this like I would use a website. I have my different menu items that I can use to guide me through the system. Very, very clean interface. And I can use the tools within Acumatica to help me quickly navigate around. For example, if I am somebody that manages accounts payable and I can't simply remember how to go in and enter a new bill, I can just go ahead and type in the word bill, and it's going to bring back every area in my system where I can do that. Am I looking to process a new bill? Well, I can just click the button here on my menu to do so. Am I looking for a AP report? I can type that into my search bar. A specific PO number, a specific sales order number, a specific journal transaction. You can type any of that information in, and Acumatica will pull back that data for you. So again, you don't have to go hunting around the system, spending time trying to track down information, particularly if you are in a new system. We know that moving to a new system is something that has a learning curve involved with that. So just want to make sure we give you all of the tools to make that easier for you. Now, Kevin also mentioned dashboards and business intelligence, and I think that business intelligence are critical for usability and functionality of any great accounting and ERP system. And I'm very, very proud of some of the business intelligence that we have as part of our core system. I'll mention some of those items as far as dashboards, the built-in reports, and what we call generic inquiries, which help you to create the analytics that you're interested in. So let's start just with the dashboard I'm seeing here, which happens to be a controller dashboard. Now, because we are a role-based system, every user in Acumatica only has access to the areas that they need to do their job. So a controller, for example, somebody managing the finances of an organization, could have a home base that looks something like this. And very likely a controller might not have access to something like, I don't know, creating sales orders or receiving purchase orders, depending on the size of your business. So you can absolutely create very, very tight securities in the system so that nobody is touching any areas that they shouldn't. We run Acumatica internally at Acumatica. We have hundreds of employees and we are a global business. And we use those exact same securities to manage how our employees access our system. Drinking our own Kool-Aid. Now, as far as the dashboards themselves, they are real time. They allow you to drill down on every single piece of data that you see there. So did that a little bit fast, but here I'm seeing cash on hand, and I see payments that are overdue and customers that are overdue, and who is out there on credit hold. Who are those delinquents with those top overdue balances? The equity group of investors better get it together. And this data allows me to not only see this information and start to proactively manage my business, but I can also drill down on it and immediately take that action. So I see, here's my customer that's currently on credit hold. I can drill straight down into their customer information. So another huge benefit of Acumatica is the fact that CRM or customer management is built right in. So you're managing your customers' credit limits and their terms with you, shipping addresses and billing addresses in multiple locations. And that way we're bringing everything all into our financial system. When we then sell to our customers or purchase from our vendors, all of the data is remaining in one place, allowing us to get very, very strong reporting, as well as very, very strong customer management. For example, I'll show you an example of a customer that probably has some good data in here. When I look under that activities tab, just take note of all of the interactions I can see between myself and this customer. Emails being exchanged and notes on the record and phone calls that are being logged So we always know from a customer satisfaction standpoint where we stand with that customer and if there is anything that was recently performed or that we might need to draw attention to. Now, I would also like to spend a moment on when I drilled down from my dashboard level, it took me to my customers on credit hold because of course that is the tile I selected. But if you note, this is actually just my entire AR customer summary. So I can create filters out of that AR summary, which is why I was able to see the one customer who is on credit hold today. But I can also create additional filters, like my customers that are 30, 60, and 90 days overdue. Very easy to see this information, and also very easy to control the data and modify the filtering of this data so that you can make sense of the decision or the inquiry that you are trying to create. So I'll give you an example. Here I see all of my customers that are owing us money right now. But if I would only like to see maybe the customers that are over by a certain balance, I'll just select this balance field and I will type in, I'm only interested in seeing the customers that owe us a balance of, I don't know, $300,000, the big whomping balances here. And my system immediately refreshes. I see who those customers are. And now I can go again, start to use Acumatica tools to drive collections, but also just to understand where those cash influxes should be or where they ought to be. Now, this is one example, again, of what we call a generic inquiry in Acumatica. So for those of you that are maybe a little bit more on the technical side, you can create these queries in your system and you can save these searches, if you will, on any piece of data that exists in Acumatica. So we're looking at AR right now, but you can pull queries on quite literally any piece of information that you are interested in seeing in the system. I'll try to give you a few more examples of that today. Now, let's see. I think as far as generic inquiries, that is probably a good place to start. One more thing that I'll show you is just examples of, actually, I digress. There was one more thing here I wanted to show you. When we look at a query, it's important to understand that Acumatica is a very flexible system, flexibility. We can design these screens to fit how we would like to view them. So that balance column that I was working with, if you're interested in, dragging that over and making your customers front and center, if you'd like to see who the owner of that account is front and center, you can move this data around. You can configure your own columns. So if you don't actually care who the owner of the account is at all, you can click this button to configure the columns. We'll grab that the owner column, and I'll simply remove them from the query, and we'll see that column drop right off. Flexible, flexible, flexible system. This is the type of modern system that when Kevin talked a lot about your accounting technology not staying up to date with some of the latest and greatest out there, these are the types of things he's referring to. That allows me to segue a little bit into reports. We offer about 250 reports out of the box. So that means you can take advantage of any of the reports that we offer to you. You can create your own, you can modify your own, you can work with NexLAN to create and modify those reports. You can work with Acumatica to create and modify those reports. Now, I'll show you some examples of some of the reports that are in my demo environment today, but you can see some great examples here of financial statements, a number of additional GL and transaction reports. Any workspace that I am in is also going to have associated reports. So under payables, I see a whole number of AP reports and bills pending approval and vendor information. Same thing here under receivables. I get a whole joy of receivables reports. Under my orders and inventory, you'll see the same thing. So if you are looking into a new system, when you hear those ilities and functionality certainly rises to the list, you ought to understand that that new system has a whole lot of business intelligence, and Acumatica absolutely does. Now, let's run a few.
And Jessica, can I have you take any one report, any report, and then export that report out to Excel?
You better believe it. So here I just ran an example of a balance sheet, and that's one of the first things you'll notice on the report is I can certainly export it directly to Excel. So you'll see that happen in, I don't know, 1 second, where I can now take that report. I'll show you the copy that just pulled up over on my other monitor here. And there you go. So this is one example of how Acumatica's flexibility, the import-export piece, is highly, highly flexible. You're going to be able to export almost every screen and report that exists in Acumatica. I'll show you a few more examples of that today. So then you can continue to do your reporting in that Excel worksheet if you would prefer to manipulate the data there. But you can also do some of this inside of Acumatica. So here's my balance sheet. I can drill down from my totals into the account details behind that. So just like we saw with our dashboards, very strong drill down capabilities, which can help me understand why my accounts are looking the way they do. Here's my export button again. So we can have that Excel functionality just about anywhere.
Yeah, and Jessica, please do export that to Excel, because for the crowd that's listening, they have export to Excel now, but it sucks. The fields are a mess. They're commingled and you can't sort, and you know, it's ugly.
Yep.
This makes very pretty export.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. That's the example of now the GL details instead of the full balance sheet that we were looking at. So yes, every report that you see in Acumatica does have that functionality, and we've done a good job making sure that the formatting does remain in place as well. And of course, you can, there's even a tool out there, if it's worth mentioning, called Velixo, for those of you that do want very, very strong Excel reporting. It's even an add-on to Acumatica that allows you to take it one step further. So something to consider. Before I go away from reports, I'd just like to note that we do have the ability to send these reports directly out of the system via email. We can connect to your email server within Acumatica. That way you can send reports internally to internal stakeholders or externally to users if needed. We can print these reports, and we can group them really on any number of unit sets. So this balance sheet just happens to be broken out by product line. So if I'd like to just drill down into, you know, my industrial equipment or my electronics versus all of my products, I can do that very easily just by drilling into that specific unit set. We can do this with locations and branches and really you name it. If there's a way that you would like to report, there is very, very likely a place for you either to start, either the report already exists, or we can help you create it. About 250 to 300 of these out of the box. Okay, so I think that's good for now as far as our usability and functionality section. Acumatica really is probably the best known ERP today as far as usability. I encourage you to go out and do some of your own research on that. We not only love our customers, but our customers love us. There's something called an NPS score, a Net Promoter Score, which is customers running ERP systems and accounting systems, evaluating their satisfaction with those systems. Acumatica has one of the highest, if not the highest, Net Promoter Score in the industry. I believe we do currently carry the highest Net Promoter Score. So again, our customers love us, we love our customers, and I think that's why a lot of this continued innovation into the product is a possibility. Now, let's continue on. I'll talk a little bit more about our NexLAN, which is flexibility. Acumatica is flexible to support really any industry. Right now, we're talking a lot about financials and the basics of accounting. I should mention that Acumatica at our core, we are an accounting and general ledger system. That is the core of the system. Everybody that uses Acumatica uses accounting. Now, where you start to add some color to this is you can bring all of the other departments into your Acumatica ERP system as you would like to. So if you manage inventory and you manage orders, if you're a distribution company, if you're a manufacturer who manages, you know, bills of materials and you configure products, we have that manufacturing functionality available for you to add on to the system. So you don't need to use the things that are not part of your business. But when we talk about flexibility and scalability, Those are the things that make us able to allow our customers to flex and scale and grow. We want you to be able to start small and grow big. If that is your desire to add on, additional arms of your business, if you are a manufacturing company managing bills of materials and production, but you would like to add on a service side of the business where you manage appointments. We also have a field service component where we can schedule appointments in Acumatica and go out and actually do work on those manufactured items. So the possibilities are endless. You can add on the pieces of Acumatica, but we do support many, many industries. Manufacturing, construction, commerce is a very interesting discussion right now. If you're managing inventory but selling online, how do we bridge that gap between the world of selling online in a commerce space, but still feeding that data back into our ERP without needing to manipulate and enter manual data? Acumatica has a great commerce solution to plug into just about any commerce website of your choice. And the ultimate goal here is to create one single source of truth for all of your business operations. Now, also when we talk about flexibility, I think it's worth mentioning the open architecture of Acumatica. We have different ways to plug in tools of your liking. So if you're an Outlook user or a Gmail user, and you would actually like to connect your email system to Acumatica, when we talk about flexibility, that's another great example. So I'll just pull over my Outlook inbox for a moment. And I just woke this up, but if you notice, I have this Acumatica plugin in the top right. And what that actually will do is it will go out and connect to Acumatica. So I can essentially take any leads that I'm conversing with in my inbox or activities that I might want to send over to the ERP, and I can use this Acumatica plugin to do that. This is also how we can scan AP inboxes or AP PDFs, if you will. If you'd like to actually, to Kevin's point, take an AP bill, scan that document, and push that right into your Acumatica instance, you can use this Acumatica plugin to do that. So maybe not waking up here today, but what we can do is then take all of that. Here we go. I was going to say I didn't wake it up yet this morning, but here is my instance of Acumatica looking at the email that I've selected and allowing me to take some options to maybe create leads or create contacts in the system, log activities, log cases. And when we talk all about flexibility, open architecture is a big part of that discussion. We know there's other tools you're using in your business, and you should be able to plug those into Acumatica. Now, one more thing when we do talk about flexibility that's probably important would be to understand how easy it is to personalize the system to be your own. Now, Kevin did talk about one of NexLAN's biggest prides is waking up every day and making sure that you as business owners and business employees, users of NexLAN's solutions of choice, are happy with the way that they have personalized your system. And we provide tools to make that very, very easy for you all as end users, as well as NexLAN as a partner. Ultimately, that results in decreased costs of maintaining a system. So I'll give you a quick example. We can allow you to add user-defined fields, which is another way to add fields that might be missing from the system very, very easily. So this is something in older legacy systems that is costly, difficult to do. Here on a purchase receipt, maybe I am interested in measuring quality of some sort. So I would like to add some user-defined fields to that purchase receipt. I simply have to go in and add the field of my choice. So if it's something like weight that I'm interested in adding to a purchase receipt, every time we receive a new PO in, we would like to measure the weight of that, and then we would like to enter that weight in the system. Just one example of the many, many examples that you can utilize these user-defined fields for. Maintaining different things like date fields. We have a requested date versus a ship date on the shipping side, you name it. User-defined fields are not only needed by almost all Acumatica clients, but they are very, very easy to add in a flexible system such as Acumatica. So a little bit of a taste of how we can help you to save some time and money around personalizing your system. Now, moving on to another ility, a big one that I think is important for our discussion today is mobility. And what I'm actually going to do is, give me one moment, I'm going to share my iPhone with you. I have an application here that I can actually take my iPhone and throw it up on the screen. So what I'm going to do is show you what the Acumatica mobile application looks like. Mobility, of course, means that you should be able to have access to your business in a mobile way. I don't care where you are, the grocery store, the beach, if you are, out there at your son's baseball game, we want you to be able to go into the Acumatica mobile app and see what's going on in your business world. Are there approvals that need to be made that you're responsible for? Is there a report that you need to run? These are the things that mobility gives you, and only a modern ERP system like Acumatica can really do that. So here is my iPhone, no smoke and mirrors here, all my unread messages and emails, but I hope all of you are maybe having some lunch on us today in the NexLAN team. But this is my Acumatica mobile app. If you use an iPhone or an Android, you can also find the Acumatica mobile app, but you will, of course, need an Acumatica instance. So I'm just connecting to the exact same site you see right here from my mobile app, and I will type in my password. But please note all of the same smartphone functionality, like Face IDs and dictation and all of that other good stuff that you would get from a smartphone certainly extends to what we have done with the Acumatica mobile app. So just notice, of course, the look and feel is designed to be responsive, so it will change the sizing on the screen depending on the mobile device that you're using. But also we give you these, nice big icons so you can fat finger through here and you don't get stuck on pushing buttons that you didn't mean to push. We make it look different than the backend ERP, but of course, any good mobile app is created for the user experience to look and feel appropriately how it should from a mobile device. So maybe just a quick example. Here I see my controller dashboard. I also have that out on my mobile device. And I'll just drill down into that so we can see the exact same data. Again, no smoke and mirrors. Everything is completely translating from my mobile device to my ERP in real time. There is no delay. There is no sync between the transactions happening here and the transactions happening here. We are using the exact same database and hitting all of the exact same data points. So I'm going to give you an example. There's so much we can do in the mobile app. If you're out at a trade show, you can take a picture of a business card and enter a new lead. If you are a manufacturer and you would like to create mobile scans from the shop floor to enter maybe clock time or scan materials. If you manage a warehouse and you would like to pick, pack, and ship from the mobile device, every single one of these things is possible. I wish I had time to take you through all of the options today, but instead I'll just do one demonstration that should relate to really everybody on the call. I think most of us deal with expense receipts in some form. So I'm just going to select that expense receipt icon. And why don't we go through the process of creating a new receipt? I can either click the plus sign to just start manually entering the data, or I can even capture a picture of the expense receipt. Now I'm going to do that today, but Kevin also mentioned some of the artificial intelligence and machine learning functionality that is available from Acumatica. So you can see I just took a picture of an expense receipt from USPS, but if this was an example where I was using our artificial intelligence tools, I can even scan the fields on these receipts. If I'm talking about AP, I can scan the fields on the AP documents, and then I can feed those into Acumatica automatically. Again, in my example, I'm not using the machine learning and the artificial intelligence, so I can just go ahead and enter the amounts to go along with my receipt. I now have the picture attached. I can select the expense item to go with that. So why this is critical is we are not only feeding this data to Acumatica, but we're tagging it to our general ledger. So this is all about automating your transactions, and we want to be able to have you save time that's being spent on some of those more tedious tasks. So assuming that I got all of my fields in there, I've now just added a brand new expense receipt to my system. And over here on the back end, we're going to be able to pick that up. You know, somebody that is doing approvals, for example, is always going to see in real time this data coming in from anywhere. I don't care if it's a purchase order that needs approving. I don't care if it's a journal transaction. Just like we just did with this expense receipt, there is no delay. Your business keeps moving. Here we even have the file in the top right, so I can always track that data through the system and make sure nobody is expensing any additional McDonald's that they shouldn't be expensing on our business's behalf. So a little bit about mobility, my friends. Like I said, there's so much we can explore in Acumatica. It's hard to even pick the items that I would like to share with you, but I'd like to pick the ones that, of course, are in line with our ilities today, but really the ones that benefit all folks on the call. So I'll close off the mobility section there, and I'd like to just scale down with maybe our final conversation around scalability. So scale down is maybe a bad way to start that section, because what we really want to talk about is scaling up. You know, Acumatica has a structure in place that is designed to help our customers scale. We do not offer any limits on user-based pricing, as Kevin mentioned in his initial slide presentation. You saw that you can add the modules on that you need as you grow. I mentioned that, you know, option of a manufacturer adding on a service arm. So that scalability piece, I think we've hammered on that a bit already today, but maybe I'll also just show you an example of something we call processing screens in Acumatica. Anytime we mention this concept of scalability, I think it's also important to talk about automation. So I'm sure a lot of you in your businesses are spending time on manual tasks. And there's things that Acumatica can do from an automation and scheduling standpoint that can allow you to decrease the time being spent on some of those more tedious tasks. So things like generating recurring transactions, or things like if you're a distribution company that is processing shipments and invoices, you might want to do that in more of a batch format, or maybe have it automated altogether. So I'm taking you to an example of a processing screen. You saw that I have many examples of this: processing orders, processing shipments, processing invoices. But I'll just give you one example of what it means. Let's see if we have any good data in here for us to utilize. I hope so. There we go. So what these screens allow us to do is, you can see I was looking for a good action to use in my example. And what it allows me to do is select the action I'd like to take. So here I'm looking at all of my shipments. If I'm managing inventory, maybe I would like to look across all of my shipments that went out the door yesterday and show me all of the shipments that were ready to invoice. So instead of having to have your AR team go in there and process every single invoice separately, manually enter and type in those invoices, we can use this processing screen, this automated screen, to prepare those invoices in a batch. Let's prepare all 3 of them that appear on this screen. But not only that, we can even do it on a schedule. So if I would like to say, you know, I'll use this example of printing a shipment confirmation. You want to print a confirmation anytime you send a shipment out. Here's the 3 shipments that we're ready to print those confirmations for. But again, I can schedule this. So if I would like to say every single day at, you know, daily or weekly or monthly, whatever it is, every day at 6 o'clock in the morning, let's prepare all the invoices from the day before. Let's print all the shipment confirmations from the day before. Let's print all of the pick lists. Let's capture all of the credit card transactions from the day before. You name it, we have a huge number of these processing and automation tools available to our users so that they don't have to spend as much of that manual time processing these transactions. All right. Deep breath. I've given you a lot of fun information today. Acumatica really is a very, very modern system that there is a lot to explore. I think this was a pretty good bird's eye overview of how we've advanced into the 21st century with our technology, and we only continue to do so. I will do a little plug here. 2 weeks from today, we're actually hosting our Release 1 event. So every year, Acumatica has 2 major releases, one around this time of year, February, and one around the September-October timeframe. So we are going to be releasing our brand new software product. And when I say that, it's just a new version. So all of our customers have the choice about when they would like to upgrade. But what you'll see is with every new release, we are just packing these releases with incredible features. That's the reason we can do things like offer artificial intelligence for scanning AP bills. That's the reason we can capture pictures of business cards and create leads out of those. We really are a technology company at our core. So I invite you to join us on the 18th. I'm sure Kevin can get the invitation out if you're interested. Come check out some of the demos of the new features and really just continue getting to know Acumatica and continuing to work with the NexLAN team on your technology journey. Kevin, I'll stop there. If there's any questions we'd like to answer live, I'd be happy to take them. And if you'd like to wrap us up, then it's all yours. I think you might be on mute, Kevin. Can't hear you just yet.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay. Yeah, I've been answering some questions in the chat window. Feel free while I, bring us up to the top of the hour and everybody's cleaning up the crumbs on their desk to keep those coming. I saw a question come in right now. Can you process credit card payments directly through Acumatica? Of course you can. Yes, and it hooks in directly with anybody that's talked with me about credit cards. I'm big on level 3 functionality that gets you your biggest, discounts. So yes, of course that's there. A couple of things that I'll hit. Jessica didn't use the voice functionality when she demoed her iPhone to hit her phone and say, this receipt was a client lunch, therefore it's tax deductible. Okay. But all that stuff, you've got that mobile device right there. So looks great. We talk about functionality. She talked about scheduling stuff with automation tools and scheduling emails. Wow, right now you have to buy an add-on to do that. That's another function, like credit card processing, that is built in here in Acumatica. The last piece from the geek angle, but hits everybody's pocket, is back on the architecture of how the system is built. We have the ability, and we love being able to modify systems to make it optimize your business. That's why you work with NexLAN. You want your business optimized. But everybody knows, oh, now it's time to upgrade. Now we have to roll those modifications forward. And now those modifications we paid for before, now we get to pay for them again. Well, the architecture in Acumatica makes that almost seamless. Many modifications just flat roll forward, untouched by human hands, because they're using a development architecture that is truly object-oriented, that all this stuff just literally drags and drops forward. So that saves huge money and allows you to really take that next step and say, gee, I want to do this modification, but is it worth it? The carrying cost on it now goes to practically zero. So there's email addresses. We thank you very much for your time. I'm a minute and a half to go. And I don't see any additional questions. We will get this up on our website. We'll be following up with emails. Thank you very much, everybody. Always great working with you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Really appreciate the time. Thanks for the great session, Kevin.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.